Happy holidays! I'm Lauren Youse, your Scarlet, Blue, and You host and the HLGU Alumni Director. Welcome to our podcast featuring HLGU alumni, events, campus news, and so much more. I'm coming to you from the Burt Studio on our beautiful HLGU campus. I'm very excited to welcome back our Christmas expert, Dr. Eric Turner. He's chair of the HLGU Division of Christian Studies, assistant professor of New Testament and Greek, and the director of Church and Denominational Relations. Welcome back, Dr. Turner.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's always great to talk
year
about Christmas.
3
this
with
is
you.
Year
so
3.
You haven't run out of stuff?
Not yet.
Okay, good. Good. And I'm also excited to welcome Joe Garner, who's the HLGU Director of the Registrar, to the podcast. Welcome, Joe.
Good afternoon. Good to be here. What I want to know is why Christmas expert isn't on your business cards.
Oh, because they're trying out room.
There's
That's
not
fair.
room. There's not room. I need a separate business card.
You already have
everything.
like 8 titles.
Yeah,
just for Christmas expert.
We'll throw that one in there too.
That's
sure, why not?
It's probably the one you're proudest of.
I am.
And you had to go to school the longest for that one, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joe, besides being our excellent registrar, did I say that?
Registrar. Yeah, there's like 4 R's in there.
Okay.
So.
You also do some teaching.
I do. I teach, generally speaking, teach history. And so I teach in kind of the general history side, teach American history, teaching a class on church and state next semester. But then also Dr. Turner lets me sneak into Christian studies from time to time. And I'll teach church history, Baptist history. And because Dr. Turner has some blackmail material on me, I'm also teaching Hebrew in the spring. So a little bit of everything.
He must have something on you.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Exciting.
Well, I'll pray for you.
It's called
Hebrew.
being division chair.
That's right. Exactly.
Putting a little. Is that? Yes, I read that.
Putting those titles to action.
Yeah, that's in there too.
That's right. That's
Wield the power.
Well, nice. Well, if you're watching the podcast or listening, I'll describe for you. I brought my Peanuts nativity scene back. Yeah. And I did bring the 3 wise men. They're a little removed from Mary, Joseph, and Jesus and the shepherd, because we've discussed that.
We have.
The wise men were not actually at the nativity.
They were on their way.
That's right. So they're kind of coming, but they're coming quickly.
Yeah.
But we gotta bring it back. Okay. So before we get into a deep biblical Christmas discussion, I wanted to play a quick round of Would You Rather Christmas Edition.
Okay, here we go.
Yikes.
Okay. So I'm going to give you 2 options, and you reply which of the options you'd prefer.
Mm-hmm.
There are no wrong answers as long as you can defend your choice. Not saying that the choices are good.
But, right. But clearly judgment will be involved. There may not be a right answer.
Obviously. I'm glad
people will
goes
judge
without
us.
saying. Okay, so here's number 1.
Here we go.
Would you rather have to loudly sing the chorus of Jingle Bells every time you walk into a room for a week, or have to wear a Santa suit to school every day for a week?
Oh, I'll go first. Definitely Jingle Bells, because I love to sing.
Okay.
So we're always listening to Christmas music.
You maybe are an elf.
And I've always, maybe,
You're awfully tall, though.
I'm so tall for an elf, yeah. But definitely singing. Yeah, singing.
That's true
Jingle
story.
Bells.
I think I'd actually go with singing as well, because I can just not go into rooms.
Oh.
I could just stay in my office.
Or you
just
could
stay home,
yell from the hallway.
That's right, exactly. I just
true.
won't walk
Look
into a
at
lot
you
of
finding
rooms.
workarounds.
So,
okay, this is why you guys are. And Joe, you're a nearly doctor. And we have Dr. Turner.
I'm in a room and I'm singing.
I like it. Okay, so that was your softball.
That's
Right.
easy.
Now it's going to get hard.
One.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Would you rather have Frosty the Snowman for a friend or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for a friend?
Oh, I'll let you go first on this one.
Let's see. So I'm going to go with Rudolph.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the main reason I think is so that I can get the little dentist elf. Maybe alongside, because I think like he would be a good bud to have around. Rudolph, if it gets
Dentists
foggy,
are always good friends.
So I'm from South Louisiana, not Missouri, the state, originally, and it's basically perpetually swamp fog at all times, and so having like a free way of navigation would be pretty sweet.
Very
I think.
practical.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm also going to say Rudolph, but
Okay.
for different reasons. Number one, that Frosty is not going to be around all year.
Fair
So
point.
that's not a great friend. He can't be
A fair weather friend.
You don't want seasonal friends.
He
right?
can't be there for you in July and August. Let's just
You have to phone him at the North Pole.
be true. You could stare at a bucket of water with some
Sure, with a hat.
hat.
With a hat.
What do you think, Frosty? And he's like, I don't know. Probably Rudolph, because I feel sorry for him that he doesn't have any friends.
He doesn't get to play in the reindeer game.
Yeah, and I mean, I just feel like that's the most Jesus thing you could do.
Okay.
Right?
Wow,
Be his-
there we go.
See, this is why I have you guys on.
You've
Christmas
made it 5
expert.
minutes
To be
with
his
the
friend.
Jesus Juke.
Yep.
Okay,
This
okay.
is why I'm the Christmas expert.
Fair. That's fair.
This is year 3. Expert right there. Okay, would you rather help an angel get their wings or the Grinch grow his heart? You know which movies those are from.
Yes. I think I'd rather help the Grinch grow his heart, because I think Whoville is a much more interesting place than standing on the bridge in the middle of winter.
Okay.
Like if it involves standing on a bridge and thinking about jumping in the middle of the winter,
Over some water.
Yeah, I'm not there. Right. That's no.
No clearance.
Jimmy Stewart can handle that all day long. Right.
Yeah.
But I think Whoville is a much more interesting place.
I love Whoville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Grinch as
Okay.
well. Mostly just because biblically accurate angels, right,
Ah,
already
it
have
is.
like 6-8 wings and
Covering
12
all the stuff.
eyes.
They're
and,
terrifying. Yeah, they're terrifying.
Usually people are falling on their face, wanting to die when angels show up in the Bible. So,
Terrified.
This is true.
there is that.
Yeah, but this is true.
Heavenly host. I like it. Okay, this is our last question.
Okay.
And this one's tough. I think it's going to be especially tough for the Christian studies
Oh, boy.
parts of you. Okay. Would you rather visit the North Pole or visit Bethlehem?
Oh.
I know, right? Take it away, Joe.
Yeah, so it's cold in the North
Wow.
Pole, and my aforementioned Louisianian blood has barely adapted to Missouri, much less the Arctic, and so I'm gonna go with Bethlehem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna flip. I would say North Pole.
Okay.
Because I've already been to Bethlehem five times.
So you know it.
I know it. It's
You've got the keychain.
I do.
Yeah.
There's a because Starbucks is not in the area of Bethlehem. It's not allowed to be in the area of Bethlehem. They have what's called a Square Bucks.
Square bucks.
So
Okay.
It's not, but it has the same Starbucks logo.
Same logo.
It's just a square instead of
And
a.
there's a KFC and the Church of the Nativity, and that's about it. It's not.
Oh, it's tiny, huh?
It's tiny. It's not the most
It's not a
glamorous place
city.
in the world.
Really?
But if I'm going to visit, the North Pole, and see, if we're assuming the thought experiment that you're going to see Santa
Well, yeah,
and
you
the
better
elves
be
in
there.
the workshop, I mean, why not? Who wouldn't want
Sure.
to see that?
I mean, and your friend Rudolph.
We watched the Santa Claus 3 the other night. Where the
Is that the Jack Frost one with
where
Martin
the
Short?
where the in-laws come and they don't know, they think it's
Yeah.
Canada.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
fantastic.
These people are awful small.
Yeah.
It's like it's Canada.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys did
That's
well.
great.
Thanks
Those
for
are great
playing.
questions.
I appreciate you guys
Yeah.
being good sports.
I like that.
Okay, so Bethlehem is my transition into our biblical Christmas discussion.
Okay.
Do you like that?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Like
love
that segue. Okay, so what fascinating things are we going to talk about this year?
Well, I talked to Mr. Garner a little bit about the importance of tradition and why tradition is important at Christmas, and why some people they try to shun tradition. They think that you hear arguments like, "Oh, Christmas is pagan." Don't put
Yeah.
up a Christmas tree. We don't know really when Jesus was born. It was all paganized, pagan religious festivals, so you can't do it. I'm a big believer in tradition. I'll let Mr. Garner talk about some of the history of that. So I brought a prop with me today. It's actually not a prop. It's actually one of the greatest gifts that someone ever gave to us as a family at Christmas. This is from Family Life Today, Dennis and Barberini. I don't know if you know who they are. But they did years ago, and I don't even know if you can still buy these or not, but they're called adornaments. Instead of ornaments, adornaments. These are Christmas ornaments, which are the names of Jesus.
Oh, very cool.
And so what we do around Christmas is our family. We've done this ever since our kids have been little. I don't know how biblical it is, but the kids would fight over which ones that they wanted to do. Of
They had
course,
favorites.
That's a very 12 disciples kind of thing.
Okay.
that
it
would
seemed very
happen.
accurate.
Yeah.
But like for example, like you there's you just pick one out, and it's like it's a great little
Cute.
lion of the tribe of Judah. And the cool thing is, like, you just open it up, And there's a Bible verse with it. Behold, the Lion that is from the tribe of Judah. And there's a little paragraph about why he is called this title. And so it helps us. And then we read a couple in the evening, and we hang them on our tree. And it's amazing we've had these for 20 plus years. We have not lost one of them.
That is
impressive.
incredible.
Yeah.
Good job.
So we've made sure it's been close a couple of years. But I think this is just a good reminder of you can have a tradition. Like we have this tradition in our family of hanging these ornaments, and we hang other ornaments on the tree, of course, but hanging these ornaments on the tree, which remind us of the characteristics of Christ. He is Emmanuel, the true vine, light of the world, King of kings, on and on and on. So I think it's not wrong to embrace tradition. What do you think, Mr. Garner?
Yeah, I mean, being history professor, I fully embrace tradition, of course.
Yeah, I knew you would.
No, but I mean, this is the way God's designed us, right? He's made us for habits. It's part of the natural rhythm of what we do just as humans. Like it's not something, like when your kids are growing up, like they get into routines, they get into habits. There's ones you teach them, but then there's ones they just kind of develop on their own. And so kind of on a larger scale, societies, cultures, and specifically Christianity, we are a people of traditions, right? We worship the Lord, we worship Christ, and anything that we worship is going to order everything around it, and even the days and the weeks, right? So for instance, if you're maybe a little too excited maybe about a certain sport team, let's say, what are you going to do? You're going to order your life around home games. You're going to order your life around their schedule, these sorts of things. The things that we love, the things that we're passionate about, we alter our money and we alter our calendar around it. And so it makes sense that really from the very beginning, Christians have set aside particular days to celebrate various aspects of what's going on in the Bible, right? And we do that because we're more than just, brains on a stick. Right. We have to taste, touch, see, smell things, to learn them, to think about them, to really know them, to get them deep down. And so what Christian holidays and traditions do is it to use the not really the Bible word, to use the Christian word, it catechizes us, right? It trains us over time to think Christianly about the world around us. And Christmas is just one of the ways in which the church historically has done that. I mean, you can go that's the funny thing people say, the whole pagan holiday thing, they'll usually point back to, German paganism and the Celtic evangelism and these sorts of things, and basically say, well, Christmas is just an adapted pagan holiday that they made up when they were trying to evangelize the Germanic tribes. But you can go all the way back to the 5th and 6th century, and you can find Christians in various parts of the world around the Mediterranean basin setting aside particular days to celebrate the birth of Jesus. And so Christmas, in some way, shape, or form, has really been around since almost as long as Christianity has been legal, public, and organized, in some way.
I think that word catechize is important, and it's not a word that we think about. I think we do catechize, our children and our families in sometimes very intentional ways, like we intentionally did this with our kids every year. But then there's funny ways that we sort of do catechism with traditions that we don't even think about. Like, for example, we don't, and I know you agree with this, Christmas doesn't begin until after Thanksgiving.
That's right. Amen.
Right. And so we don't.
It's the way the Lord has ordered the cosmos.
I agree. Right. And I think it's an abomination to put up your Christmas tree before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I think
no doubt about it.
that their judgment of the Lord might be upon you. But
it's a Habakkuk.
Right. So it's there. Right. 5th chapter, I think.
Yeah.
Then what we do is the day that we put up our tree, my wife always makes a certain kind of cookie that she only makes on that day.
Yeah. Once
the
a
day
year.
the day that we put up the tree. And so she makes, we call it like a molasses crinkle.
Oh,
It's
those
like
are delicious.
It's like a ginger snap,
Yeah.
So it's like Mr. Garner said, it's the sight,
Smell
the
and-
smell.
Yeah.
So I will never forget one year, my wife thought about like making a different cookie. and there was almost full out revolt among the family.
You almost didn't have a tree that year, did
I mean, you would have thought like the whole family structure was collapsing because she did not make that cookie.
But she did, right?
But she did. So she nixed it, and then it was the only time she's
Terrible
ever
idea.
tried to make a different kind of cookie and to try something different.
Okay.
And we're like, no, we have to have
Yeah, you've made the
this
tradition.
cookie, and then we have eggnog along with it,
Okay.
right? And
Sounds
so
pretty great.
that's our tradition. So we didn't really do that sort of intentionally. It just sort of happened.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of developed, and so I think some of these traditions over the years have just developed, right? And one of the traditions I kind of want to get Mr. Garner's emphasis and input on this is, do you believe in Santa Claus?
Yeah. So, I mean, in a sense, sure. So there was a historical Nicholas, right? So
Right.
Saint Nicholas, Nicholas of Myra, if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
He was a bishop in modern day Turkey, so Asia Minor, in the Roman province of Asia at the time, kind of on the southern coast of Turkey there. And he was a real guy. He's a patron saint of children and navigators, apparently.
That makes sense, right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that does
exactly.
make
And
sense.
he was known as the gift giver. Like, so I mean, this is part of his history and his legend. Also, side note for church history fans, one of the participants at the Council of Nicaea, where we get one of the first Christian creeds, the Nicene Creed.
Mm-hmm.
So he was one of the people there refuting the heretic Arius, who denied that Jesus was God, and also was one of those people that tried to celebrate Christmas before Thanksgiving. So,
Well, and so
Just
the
tied
question,
those together.
so there's an urban legend. I don't know if it's an urban legend, if it really happened, if it's true or not.
Yeah.
But your take on, did Nicholas punch Arius in the face?
yeah, that's a great question. I really would like to think that he did.
Is it documented somewhere?
we
on a-
don't know.
It's
That-
not documented.
There's a painting.
Even the documentation that he was there at Nicaea is kind of 60-40.
Okay.
It's probable, likely. There's some pretty early sources that list him as one of the participants, but then there's others that don't mention him.
Okay.
But I mean, he was a bishop. The time is right. It's relatively close to where Nicaea was. Where he was living at the time, and so yeah. But whether or not he punched Arius is a sweet story, but not necessarily.
He just hit him with his bag of toys.
And I can tell you, as a we'll use this term loosely, as a historian, sometimes it's about the better story
that is true.
when you don't have necessarily enough evidence, to say definitively one way or the other. Sometimes you go with the one that sounds better.
A little more
And it
entertaining.
certainly seems like that would be something that might happen at a council in the early
Yeah, and if those who have been to a church
few
business meeting,
centuries. Yeah, it's not surprising. So I like so I love on just still this idea of tradition. There seems to be, to me, and I don't know if your churches do this or not. I'm not sure if Emmanuel does this, or we do this at Barry where I'm pastoring. But Advent, right?
Yep.
So there seems to be now. I remember growing up, Advent wasn't. I knew about it, but it wasn't really a thing.
That seems to be more of a
evangelicals
recent thing.
Yeah.
celebrated. So I'm kind of curious, like, what do you all think that is why that resurgence of
Like the candles.
yeah,
and-
why that resurgence of Advent? It seems to be a relatively popular thing lately.
well, I know that.
And when does Advent begin?
And when does Advent begin? Right. Well,
'Cause there's confusion about
it's the Sunday. Is it 6 Sundays before Christmas? Or is it 5? I
Oh,
can't
so
remember
it could be
exactly.
before Thanksgiving.
Could be.
So
Well,
it could
it's
be
it's
biblical.
I mean, Advent begins the Sunday. It'd be the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Like
That's what I
here in
that's, no,
America.
that's what I thought.
Right, yeah.
And so I started Advent early because according to Google, and we know Google. is
Sure,
correct on
Google's
everything.
Well, you did your
Right,
due
right.
diligence. You Googled it.
That Google says it starts this year on December 3rd.
Okay.
Oh.
And so I started it the week before, so we're
Right.
like a week ahead.
So it's
Of where
the issue
supposed to
is, so you got a couple things kind of historically going on. So in kind of what we call low church traditions. And so Baptists being among them. And by low church, I don't mean like, you're at a low elevation or you don't have multiple stories. Like, I mean, basically churches that aren't overly liturgical.
Yeah.
We don't have a really kind of prescribed form of worship and service. There's not all these, though every Baptist church I've been to, if you try to change the order of worship,
forget it.
Things happen. So every church is liturgical. It just depends on how formal it is.
Right.
So churches in the more low church tradition have typically kind of at least probably since the 19th century, so the 1800s, have kind of moved away a lot from formal liturgies on Sunday mornings, but even in terms of liturgical calendar. So they get away from Advent, they get away from Epiphany, from Pentecost Sunday, all these other sorts of things that have been part of kind of the historical tradition of Christianity, and usually they try to get away with it or get away from it because it's too Catholic, right? It reeks of one of my favorite Spurgeon-isms, Charles Spurgeon-isms. It's too much popery. Right.
Not potpourri.
Yeah, not potpourri, but popery, right? And so it's too much popery, right? It's too much like the Roman Catholics. It's too much like kind of the high church, too much like people who baptize babies. And so we're Baptists, we're a New Testament people. And so the church didn't celebrate Advent in the New Testament, and so neither are we. I think more recently there's been a lot more comfort with a more organized kind of liturgical way of looking at the Christian calendar and the Christian year. I think partially due because Baptists are beginning to, I think broadly speaking, do a better job at learning from and reaching out and kind of reconnecting to the Christian tradition as a whole, right? We're not kind of seeing ourselves as, well, there was John the Baptist and then there was my grandma. Right, that like there's actually Christians in the middle,
in between,
as Timothy George
Let's
famously
leave the grandmas
said,
out of it.
and so that there's Christianity happens in between, and so there's that, and then there's also because of the internet age, because of podcasts, because of certain publishing houses like Crossway and Lexham Press, more Baptist pastors are being more exposed to kind of forms of liturgy and tradition that are clearly biblical without all the popery. So
that's a good word. You mentioned Epiphany, right? And so you want to explain to Lauren what Epiphany is?
Yeah, so Epiphany is comes in after Christmas. It's basically the end of Christmas.
Boxing Day.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
I read a lot of British lit.
I was about to say,
that's a holiday, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it kind of marks the end of the Christmas, so Advent begins it, Epiphany is the end, and I can never remember like how many weeks or what.
I don't know how many weeks
Epiphany is so many weeks after Christmas. I think it's like 2 or 3. Somewhere in that neck. But it's the end of the Christmas season, right? So it starts with Advent, ends with Epiphany, and the Christmas season is kind of everything in between. So at my house, it's usually like around at the end of the first week of January, second week of January. So that's usually what it is. And so that at my house, that's usually when I'll look up the date, Google it. And that's usually when we take down our Christmas tree. So our Christmas tree stays up after Christmas. We take down our stuff.
Do you do real tree, fake tree?
So we kind of alternate year to year. We have a fake tree that we're using this year because we're traveling at Christmas.
Right.
But we had, I think, and then last Christmas we had just moved into our house, so we weren't going to deal with a real tree. So I think next Christmas, if we're here in Hannibal for Christmas, we're not traveling to visit family, then we'll probably do a real tree.
And what about you, Lauren? Are you real tree or fake tree?
I have cats. I have a Christmas wreath that I hang ornaments
a Christmas
on.
wreath. I got you.
It's a good word. I mentioned Epiphany because my brother-in-law is Serbian Orthodox.
Oh.
So he's Eastern Orthodox. So for Epiphany, do you know what they do for Epiphany?
No, I haven't heard this.
So for Epiphany, he goes and basically strips down to a pair of shorts.
Sure.
And goes and jumps in a lake outdoors.
Okay. Yeah.
And baptizes.
That makes sense.
Himself. Oh. So when they lived like in Miami, Florida,
which it wouldn't be bad.
It's not bad there.
Miami in January.
So they moved to Quincy, about 5 years ago, and then they're back in Springfield now. But when he first moved here, he called me, and his thick Serbian accent was like, Erik. where is a lake?
It's a lake.
And so I sent him to Waikonda, Lake
Mm-hmm.
Waikonda, just up
Oh
the
my
road.
goodness.
And I don't think he asked permission. I think he just
He
showed.
just jumped
he
in?
just showed up at the lake,
Why not?
and I got pictures of like him and my sister. And my
Is he
sister didn't
blue?
do it right. She
Yeah.
was she's there. She's a medical doctor, so in case
Okay, she's
Sure,
she's
yeah,
back
yeah,
up.
in case it's bad, it goes bad.
Right.
You know,
Right.
she can his heart back. You know.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But he
good.
jumped in Lake Waikonda,
In January.
which is in January
Eesh.
for Epiphany.
That's
He
Yeah,
asked me.
that's
He asked me if I
dedication.
wanted to join him.
Yeah,
but
why
I was
didn't
like,
you?
There's no
Yeah, don't do Epiphany.
there's no sense in that.
Do Boxing Day.
That's just
That's
a little
right.
too far over the edge.
That's awesome.
So, but all this about like, I think this brings it to the point of like, I think tradition, liturgy, catechism, they don't have to be sort of bad things that we shun and we throw out around the holidays.
That's right.
Simply because we feel like, well, we've got to deconstruct our faith. That's a whole
Yeah,
different
yeah,
conversation, you know, but there are a lot of people think like, well, we can't trust in tradition. It's all, you know, it's just not what it, you know, it's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
and so
people have somehow messed it
it's
up.
corrupt.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, there
corrupted,
you go,
and
corrupt.
we're believing a lie. And I just don't think that we think. I mean, I think people live their lives with rhythm, normal rhythms, sometimes healthy rhythms, sometimes unhealthy rhythms. And I think it's good to live in that rhythmic beat of tradition, to put it in a way,
Right.
around holidays like Christmas, and not to sort of again shun it or to say we're going to do something completely new, because then if you do something completely new, eventually it's going to develop
It's a
into
new
tradition.
It'll be a tradition.
and that's right. And
It's
that's
just a new
exactly-
tradition.
It's just a new tradition, and that's the reality. I think a lot of Christians need to get to is you're going to have a liturgy, right? You're
Yeah.
going to establish traditions. You
Yeah.
do it naturally. It's kind
Yeah.
of baked into the cake.
Even if you
Right.
change every year.
Even
that's your
if you
tradition.
change every year, that's your tradition. It's
Right.
changing things. So why not have a liturgy?
Yeah.
You know, a daily liturgy, a weekly liturgy, a monthly liturgy, a yearly liturgy that is distinctly Christian.
Right.
Right. That's ordered and
Meaningful.
rotating around
Yeah.
Christ. You know.
Yeah,
And even yeah, because again, our faith, our devotion is not just on the inside. It's not just ethereal, just taking place in kind of the spirit world or whatever. You know, it's real, it's tangible, and it ought to be.
And there are good ideas out there. Like I heard one the other day on the radio, just driving in, that starting in December 1st to December 24th, you read a chapter of Luke's Gospel
Mhm.
every day. And, you know, you got 24 chapters in Luke and leads you right up to Christmas. You read about Jesus.
Right.
And I thought, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt about
That's so simple,
Yeah.
right? Just to establish a pattern of daily
Yes.
rehearsing.
it. That's right.
And I think that's so important.
I know the folks that made the Jesus Storybook Bible, they've got some great Advent
Yeah,
materials.
right.
Some ornaments you can do
and
with your
ornaments
family.
and things that you can do with
Yeah.
your family. We've done this kind of off and on variety of years. I think Desire in God also has some materials
Yeah.
to help through family devotions for Advent. For those that may be a little more Bible nerdy, one of the things I try to do is read Athanasius's On the Incarnation every year.
That does sound a
So
little deeper.
it is, yeah. So, well, it's not that bad. I mean,
Okay.
for as terms of 4th century church fathers go,
Yeah.
it's not that bad. So
He's
Athanasius,
one of my favorites.
yeah, Athanasius is one of those guys. He was also at the Council of Nicaea. So
Okay.
if
Yeah.
Saint Nicholas did punch Arius,
He saw it.
Athanasius would have seen it.
He was there.
He probably held him.
Right. Well, if Athanasius, well, no, he wouldn't have. If Athanasius weren't probably like a older teenager and just a deacon at that point, Athanasius definitely would have punched Arius.
Oh,
but,
he was very volatile.
but he writes this little booklet that we still have fairly decent copies of called On the Incarnation, where he talks about just the significance of God becoming man. And there's a great edition I always recommend, and all my church history students, this is one of our required books. I always recommend and require the edition that has C.S. Lewis's preface to On the Incarnation at the beginning.
Very cool.
And so if that's a little more your cup of tea, there's that. But there's tons of materials
many
and
books.
resources
Yeah.
for family devotions, and I know plenty of resources out there for Advent readings to help guide your Bible reading, or just as simple as Dr. Turner said, just reading through Luke's gospel.
Right.
Luke is the historian, right?
Right.
Of the gospel writers. All gospels are history, but Luke actually is referred to as a historian, and you could tell in the way he writes.
A little
that
more
he
purposeful.
Is, exactly right. He talks about gathering sources and eyewitnesses and these sorts of things, and so it's a great way to experience Advent. So.
And it's not Christmas until you see Snoopy sitting on top of a doghouse eating a pile of femurs.
Eating a pile of femurs.
You know what I'm talking about? It's a little.
I do.
Like
I know. He's
these
just
are
got this
big
plate
bones,
of femurs.
right?
It's like those don't look like.
Charlie Brown really loves his dog.
Popping them in, right? He's got this
That's right.
huge.
He does kind of crunch them.
He
It's
does.
a little scary.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah, they're kind of
Yeah.
like suckers.
Or you say it a different way when
So-
Linus recites the Christmas stories.
In your time as a pastor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So have you ever had someone like
Oh no.
try to cancel Christmas? I mean,
Oh.
does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
because we hear the
Yeah.
stories about Christmas is pagan, but I've
Yeah.
never actually met one of these people.
I haven't.
So, like,
I've been blessed.
Now I usually get the other ditch where they completely, miss,
Yeah.
The point.
the point of
Right.
Christmas, right?
Right.
But I've never actually met.
No,
Does that make
thankfully,
sense?
no, thankfully I haven't. I where I've pastored, we have our share of problems in other ways, but I've never really had anyone sort of go to war against like Christmas.
A Christmas tree on
Easter,
the stage, or
no,
yeah.
anything like that. Now I did move a picture of Jesus one time in the sanctuary. You know which one I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
The blonde hair.
Yeah, the Nordic
senior,
Looking up in the
senior
sky.
Picture, Jesus' senior picture.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So we had gotten a photo, like a directory done, and our people that did our directory took each person's photo and made like a collage picture of a church.
Okay.
Right?
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds
And
cool.
so I thought, well, this is cool. Like, let's hang it right here as people come out of the door,
Where Jesus
and
is.
I'll move Jesus over to this
Sure.
other wall.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he was still in the sanctuary.
I didn't like get rid of him, right? I just moved him one wall over.
Sure.
And you would have thought the rapture had happened in like like Armageddon.
Was that a
broken
rookie
out.
mistake?
It was. It was my second year at the church, and I'm like, well, okay, I've learned you do not move the picture of Jesus
Without
in the
talking to
sanctuary
somebody.
Yeah.
without getting approval, because it had hung there for
Ever.
50 years,
Sure,
whatever.
yeah.
So that's the closest I've come to outright sort of rebellion in the church, or people with pitchforks and fire. And
Sure, yeah,
like,
yeah.
out with the pastor.
Yeah.
Right.
How dare he move Jesus?
That's funny. That's good.
So that's the closest I've ever come. I did have the WMU ladies
Sure.
one time. One of the WMU ladies accused me of preaching too long and said that they had discussed it among their meeting.
They discussed it.
And so I was a new pastor.
Sure, yeah.
Been there a year, less than a year. And so I thought the WMU cartel was
Oh, no.
out to get me. And so I was constantly like watching my back.
Yeah, watching out. Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Until the head of the WMU came up to me and said, I want you to know that she was wrong in telling you that, and we'll take care of her.
We'll take care of her.
Oh, so
I was
it
like-
might
So
be
she
a cartel.
Slept with the fishes.
I was like, okay, no questions asked, right?
Do not upset.
Oh man.
We got all kinds of stories, I'm sure, about church life, and
Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
they're good, bad, and ugly, and everywhere in between.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. Thank you, guys. These are great things to discuss with your
Yeah.
families and friends during the entire December month and into Epiphany.
That's right.
And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't stop just because
Yeah.
December 25th has passed.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. I hope you guys have a
Yeah.
very Merry Christmas.
Thank you
and
for having us.
families.
Yeah, definitely.
This has
Thanks
been
so
fun.
much.
Yeah. So this past year, the Lord has really used faithful giving to do a new work at Hannibal-LaGrange University.
Yes.
Yep.
As we emerge from a season of financial challenge, we've seen the Lord's kindness expressed in the lives of our students, the events we've hosted, and the education that we've offered, and hopefully is sinking in as finals week is happening right
Hopefully. Yeah.
now.
We'll find out as
But-
we grade.
Right?
will.
Yeah, as the
Yeah.
registrar, you really know.
Yes.
So the need for affordable Christian higher education has really never been greater. It's just always there, and now it's really there. So your gift is being used of God to provide over $4 million in scholarships annually to provide students a relevant education anchored in a biblical worldview that brings life transformation, which is the mission statement
Absolutely.
of Hannibal-LaGrange.
That's
We
what we do.
fully back it up. It's a great mission statement. So please pray about giving to the school this December to continue the great, awesome work that is being done on our campus. You can make a gift online at www.hlg.edu/giving. You can call our office and make a gift over the phone if you prefer to do that. Our number is 573-629-3232. 3124. We pray that you and your family have a healthy, happy Christmas and a super prosperous New Year. Thanks so much for listening to the Scarlet, Blue, and You podcast. Remember, keep a song in your heart, preferably the HLGU alma mater.
Or Jingle Bells.
Or Jingle Bells.
That's right.
Or Rudolph, their new friend. And Hannibal-LaGrange and your mind. We'll be back in 2024.
Awesome.
Amen.